Hi, guys. Welcome into our weekly life. As always, at 6 p.m. London, we have our very interesting guest here today, Nirel from Mira Finance. And we've met not a long time ago. Nirel is working on a startup as well in crypto, and it's very, very interesting, caught my attention. And we decided to invite him as a speaker to our live stream today to share what you guys are working on, your overall idea and your thoughts on, crypto industry today, and answer some more questions from our users as well. Hi, Nirel, welcome in. We can
What's
see you.
up?
I can
Good
see
to
you
see
now.
you.
I hope everybody can. Hi, yes, I can see you perfectly. Nirel, probably gonna start with a basic question about, if you can give us a couple of words about yourself, your background. How did you come up, with the idea of creating Mira Finance? What led to it? What problems you're solving and stuff like that? So if you can share a little bit about you and the startup that you're working on.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me. I think I'll go back to like college is kind of where my fascination in finance I first started pursuing. So I think like a lot of people, I was interested in stocks and trading pretty early on and was pretty intent on like the investment banking route when I got into college. And as I got more experience, I was a investment analyst, so I got good exposure to quantitative modeling and a lot of the fundamentals about how markets work. And kind of by coincidence, I stumbled into computer science. And at the time, my impression wasn't the best of them. I thought it was just like people working behind screens all day. But I found like a new passion and love for this programming logic and way of thinking I'd never really been exposed to before. And I think within a day or two of taking my first CS class, I decided I wanted to double major. And so I started pursuing dual degrees, one in finance, one in computer science. And as you might imagine, crypto was at the crossfire of these two things. So I think it was inevitable at some point that I found out about
Yeah.
it. And I did. I started reading white papers and having all these crazy ideas about things
When was
that
that? What year was that, if you don't mind me asking?
I think that was probably 2019, so not all that long
19.
ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, still.
Yeah, it was, I mean, before the pandemic now, so a while ago. Yeah, but um, yeah, it was crazy to me that there were all these opportunities that decentralization in particular like can remove middlemen. And I think naturally we start with the financial markets because they kind of rely on middlemen in a lot of ways. And so, after I started reading white papers, I decided I wanted to build this stuff firsthand. And I did like crypto zombies, learned Solidity, and met a few people. And they were like, oh, yeah, just do some open source tickets on Ethereum. So I tried that, but like these guys were wizards. They've been, coding in Solidity for years at that point. And so I like was kind of working my way through it, but was struggling. And I was really lucky to get a blockchain research position where like I got to take a step back and see the bigger picture. I built a novel solution
Right.
to recording transactions and mobile wireless sensor networks using a Merkle DAG, which combines like something that's pretty familiar in the basic blockchain linked list, which is Merkle trees, and at the time, a new structure, a directed acyclic graph. And if you're familiar with like IOTA, their Tangle uses this, or Hedera Hashgraph. They both use a similar DAG structure. But when I built it,
Mhm.
for, for this research, it gave me a really fundamental understanding of blockchain engineering and helped me decide like how I wanted to move forward and keep building. And so I think it was really like in July that I was shooting with Andrew, who's an old buddy of mine. We grew up in the same neighborhood. We were both into crypto early, but he comes more from the policy side. He founded the American Blockchain Initiative, and studied international relations. And so we would always have like really heated debates about like what crypto could do, what problems it could solve, like where there was resistance. And I think friction is something people struggle with a lot, right? Like, why is crypto, how can it be such a simple idea and at the same time so complicated to bring trust to for new users? And um, we basically like stumbled on the idea for Mira Finance before it had a name, but like talked about it and we knew pretty instantly like this was it, and we've been heads down working since July now. So
Was it your first? I mean, like your own startup that you were working on, or because you said you were building something before, but was that for yourself,
uh,
or you were working in the company, or yeah?
so I've worked at two startups before, but this is the first that I would claim as my own. Really, I worked at a
Mhm.
company called Grocery U, which was like an early competitive grocery delivery service. And that was like my first real startup exposure. I think what led me to like serial entrepreneurship. I don't know if I can say I'm there yet since this is my first company. And after that, when I was in college,
Mhm.
I worked on a company called Better Reality, which was a VR company. Yeah.
Okay. And when you started, like, what if you could just share, with us? And it's interesting for me since I'm a startuper as well, and I
Um,
kind of know what you were going through, from the beginning. Like, what were the difficulties you were facing when you decided, okay, I am on my own, I'm building my own thing, and it's going to be successful? Like, what uh, you know difficulties did you face in the beginning of that building, or it was just kind of like a side hustle that you were doing in between work? Like before you actually explain us what like Mira Finance is and like what
mhm.
you're building and what your goals are.
Yeah, yeah. I think like there are pros and cons here because like when it's your own company, you can be really, really stubborn and you don't have to worry so much about like managing other people or making agreements. But it also means like you're kind of locked in. So I think there are a lot of times like early on where we go to investors or advisors or people and we'd explain our idea and they'd be like, no, that's just not going to work. And in most situations you like give up or like change tracks, but we've been really stubborn about it and we're like, all right, like you don't have to be part of it, but we'll keep on moving.
Yeah.
And I think like it's been really, really tough because like obviously the market changes a lot, and um, I don't know, it's hard not to attribute value to like people you respect when they're like your idea sucks. And um,
Yeah.
I'd say like the best thing for me is to be able to like build code because that just keeps me distracted. It keeps my head down and I stay forward looking. And like as much as we do succeed, or even if we fail, like it's going to be a really long grind. And I know it's going to be like at least 2 or 3 more years of hard, full time, long hours, exhaustion, and like definitely like personal struggle, but that's the beauty of it.
Right. Right. Absolutely. I totally agree. And I definitely agree on what you said about, raising in today's world, especially in, like you said, in the market situation that we're in right now and what's going on. I actually want to, like, if you don't mind, giving your explanation on the market today, because we have like our project Grand Time. We have
Hmm.
a lot of users and users that have been with us for a very long time. We have users that have
Hmm.
been with us for a couple of years now, and obviously the community is waiting for us to close the round. Close the second round. Do some more,
Hmm.
release some more apps and features on platform. And I always explain how difficult it is today to do it, not necessarily because your idea or my idea is not good. Probably
Hmm.
if we would start raising a year and a half, 2 years ago, we would close around fairly soon compared to today,
Hmm.
to today. And
Hmm.
we're doing the same thing or even better, working even harder than we would have to a year or two ago.
Yeah.
But it's hard to raise today. What's your opinion on that? What
Right.
do you think? When that will stop, or when the next money flood in, especially in the Silicon Valley, will start? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to address the market in a second, but I also want to bring up one other thing, which I think a lot of
Yes.
people aren't that familiar with, which is like I think the founder's dilemma of fundraising. Because I think from the outside, it's easy to imagine that like you're working hard and then like you just happen to talk about your business and somebody invests money in your company, but it's really like a full-time thing and you have to sacrifice one for the other in a lot of ways. And as a founder, like you're always inspired by the product and you want to deliver to your customers, and fundraising is a huge distraction where like you go completely out of your way and spend full days and weeks setting up meetings, reaching out to people, like trying to figure out what people want to hear instead of just focusing on the product. So that already is like it's difficult to fundraise, but I think
100%.
like specifically now it's even more difficult because um, I think 2017 was kind of like the gold rush for VC raising, especially in crypto. And since then, we've seen a lot of exploits, and a lot of X cleverly either have engineers working on them that hide drains out and steal a bunch of money, or like build these complex tokenomics and basically rug their investors, rug users. Obviously, like a lot of people still
Yeah.
get rugged all the time, which is terrible. But I think unfortunately that's just been associated with a lot of crypto. So investors are really wary and sometimes like are more worried about the security aspect than what you're actually building, the tech.
Right. And, I always hear that, the bigger the fund is, the more long term they're thinking. And, when you're on the stage of, I would say, like pre seed, seed round, you're not usually talking to, you know, big name funds. I'm not going to call names,
Right.
but, we all know who we're talking about. Like there's multiple of them. And
Hmm.
it seems like it's almost impossible sometimes to even get a hold of those people, even though like you can be sure that they are going to like and understand your idea better than a small fund that is just looking to
Hmm.
follow the investment after the lead investor, and they're just looking
Hmm.
for those, to make that 100x's within a couple of months. And
Right.
the startup in the pre-seed and seed round is not actually looking for investors like that. We're looking for people that are not only going to, first of all, provide the financial support, but also help in some other ways. It could be a, legal stuff. It could be technical help and stuff. I mean,
Hmm.
there's depending on the startup. And what do you think about that? Like, if we're in the shoes, like we can be doing hundreds of pitches, a month, but if all the investor is looking for is to make profit today, that's probably not what the startup is looking for. What's your opinion of that? Like how do you move in situations like that, and what do you say to investors?
Yeah, I think we try to focus on our vision a lot because it is a long term game in a lot of ways, and I think investors are aware of that. But the venture capital world can also be like a pretty biased place. There are a lot of VCs that won't listen to your pitch unless you're one, and I think that's why we're starting to see like a shift towards VCs that are trying to like filter for these biases by focusing on diversity, or like I've even seen some that like basically use algorithms to try to determine like based on your company and the pitch, whether or not you're being overlooked for reasons that you shouldn't be. Um, but I think for Mira Finance, the way we've tried to make it simpler for investors is to separate equity from like our future token plans, because sometimes it
Right.
can work really, really well where you have investors and founders that are aligned the same way your users are. And so you can create a token for all of them. But sometimes it's not the case. And in our business model, I don't think it is the case. So we've been basically like our safes that we're raising, we're issuing equity in return for what would be like future revenue streams. But we're telling our investors like they don't have to worry about the token. The token that we issue will be a separate chunk that's for users, and will stay within the
Mhm.
ecosystem so that like users grow value based on their commitment to our platform, and it doesn't have to do with investors who want to exit at some point.
Right, right. Well, since you kind of already started covering Mira Finance, if you could, uh,
Mm,
give us a couple of words on that, on the actual business, what you guys are building, what problem you're solving,
sure.
and stuff like that. I think it will be very interesting for the people that are listening today, because this is like, before you start, I want to say like
Mhm.
there are many startups out there. There are many companies that are starting just now or started not a long time ago. And
Mhm.
I mean, the pressure that we see right now in the valley, that everybody's looking for funds. There are plenty, like uh, at least that I know, within the next last month, I've heard about like five more new incubators that opened in the area, and it just tells us that there are more and more people that are building, and it's extremely hard to, I would say, emotionally to survive in the competition like that, even though that you
Mhm.
understand that something that you're building is very unique. So I want to say that I would say both you and us are
Yeah.
doing a great job, and if we survive, and I do believe that we will survive in this market situation, that
Mhm.
will definitely pay off in long term. But yeah, if you could give
Yeah.
us explanation and
Yeah.
presentation on Mira.
Yeah, I'll reply to that quickly too. I think like it's easy to get distracted, man, and it's not just incubators. Like there's so many incubators and accelerators and like business developers and software engineers. Like I think the both of us probably get like 20 or 30 emails a day from like
Right.
random companies offering to like, and it's pretty misleading because you're always looking for something to propel your company forward, but there's a lot of confusion, I guess. Like there's a lot to be misled
Yes.
by. So I think the best practice is usually just keep your head down. Um, yeah. So what's the problem? I think there are several problems in crypto. The biggest and most complicated one to solve is making the user experience comparable to what people are comfortable with. If we look at traditional investing, the best apps, you don't have to know about how your order is fulfilled, or what kind of transactions are going on in the background, even though they're actually more complicated than crypto. So I think like the way crypto has been built is kind of backwards, where we have like a more straightforward infrastructure and you can track down every payment to its root. You can use a blockchain explorer. There's set confirmation times. But these things should be abstracted for most users because you have to know about like the token type or what chain you're on or gas fees to interact with a blockchain. And I think that's where we're headed. And that's like one of the big things we're trying to simplify for users. Another key thing, I think, is barriers to entry, because there are a lot of centralized exchanges now where you can buy tokens pretty easily, but I think users have started to learn that maybe that's a little bit counterintuitive to how crypto was designed. And if you're capable of having custody of your tokens, you should. So basically, what we're trying to do is be kind of like a vanguard of crypto. And Vanguard, for anyone who's not familiar, is the name brand for index funds. Index funds are these baskets of stocks in the US, where you pay a price essentially and you get exposure to all the stocks in that basket. It's rebalanced over time, like the fees go down, and it's the best way to get exposure to the market as a whole without having to do a lot of research. On average, these funds perform better than 80% of hedge funds. And so, like, it's really tested over time that index funds are a great exposure. But one of the issues with index funds is like regulation is pretty complicated, and so part of what you're paying for is basically to have a manager who like oversees all this money when you pay to participate in one of these funds. Um, and like there's a legal team, they have to register that security. It's an exchange traded fund, an ETF. Um, and crypto has this like we can create this really elegant solution where instead of sending your money to a manager and having him sign a contract and having to trust that he doesn't run away with it like SBF might, you can do everything
I was
DeFi.
just gonna
You can
say.
have you can have custody of your token and still invest in somebody else's fund. You can let them strategize, redesign it, like update the portfolio, rebalance, but they can never run away with your money. So basically, we've built out the protocol so that we're going to create index funds like a layer ones fund, DeFi, gaming, Web3, so that users can get really easy, simple exposure. They can see everything on chain, all of their money is collateralized, and it's all decentralized. Like we never own their money, we can never run away with it. Um, and the next step to this is building out a platform where users can act as investors and buy one of our funds, buy a fund that someone else has created, or create their own fund and even charge a management fee and collect on that. And we think this is
Well,
like really cool opportunity. Go ahead, you can ask a question
no, no, no.
if you have one.
It's actually, yeah. I just wanted to ask a question so I don't forget about it. When you said that even the user
Uh,
basically can create a fund and maybe manage some others' money. Did I understand
uh,
it right? But like,
right.
does this user? I mean, would I be able to create my own fund and accept somebody else's money and help the person without having a certain, I don't want to say degree, but knowledge in what I'm doing? That's where I'm going. Like, what?
Right. So, yeah, this is like one of the challenges here. Like, yes, Raphael, you as a user would be able to go on our website and create Raphael's exposure fund, and then like get some of
Hmm.
your followers or your friends to invest in it. You would rebalance it and strategize, and you can even message them, um,
Hmm.
and let them know like if your strategy changes, etc. And you would never be able to run away with the money. It gets complicated, obviously, because you can have impersonators and people maybe who aren't qualified to manage money, and that's why a lot of regulation is in place in the U.S., like the Series 65 exam, all of this stuff. Um, so basically, one thing we're trying to do is user verification on our platform. You can verify your account with your Twitter, any other profiles that you have, and also I think like when we first launch, we'll be validating users, and like having different badges essentially based on whether they're quote unquote verified, as in they have some proven expertise, and we are able to verify their identity. Um, but what I wanted to say before was I think this opportunity is really unique because you have a lot of people maybe who aren't qualified, but have enough experience. They've been in crypto a while. They know what they want to invest in. Their friends also might want to invest in them. Um, and I think like that's that's actually a huge opportunity because a lot of people in crypto are looking to take advantage of like their knowledge and fascination with this field, and what better way to do that than to provide like management services to your friends. We're also building a lot of like education into our platform and tool tips to make sure that both investors and managers are well equipped to make the right decisions. But yeah, I'm happy you brought that up. I think it's definitely a sensitive point when you're talking about people managing money. And one other thing is basically like the tokens that you're able to into a fund will approve one by one. So that prevents there from being
Hmm.
like a shit token that somebody rugs their
Right,
investors with. It'll be like mostly like large cap tokens that people are familiar with and relatively trustworthy.
right. Right. Thank you very much for answering my question and bringing light to the Mira Finance in general. I wanted to also ask your opinion, since this was one of the questions in the announcements. Pros and cons of investing in crypto. I would say this question would be not only today, but your opinion for the future, for the near future, maybe half a year. And, obviously within the last a year or two, a lot of people lost a lot of money, and there was a lot of scam going around. And even today, with the
Mhm.
latest news, we basically got a proof on that. And what do you think of the people that, there are, crypto industry is not huge still. I think if I'm not mistaken, there's only like a little over 3% of the world population using
Right.
crypto or understands crypto. So we know that we're in the beginning of this industry in the market, and
Mhm.
even in the beginning, we still see those massive fails of the industry itself. And like, how would you explain this to people that are just getting in, or that already lost something that they invested, that they believed in, like how to keep this belief and understand where you're moving, like what to invest in and how to make a decision on
Mhm.
what you're investing in. Your opinion on that, please.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think risk appetite is really the most important thing. And what I've noticed is a lot of people get burnt because they go into crypto or investing in general looking to turn a quick profit, or investing something that maybe like they're going to need back. And even I've done this. But I think the key to investing is to have a really long term approach where you accept, number one, that uh, like you won't be able to touch your money for the time being, and number two, you're taking risk with it, so some things might fail. And because of that, the best approach is to spread your risk around as much as possible. Like, some crypto projects are bound to be risky, of course. Don't dump all your money in one of them, but even if you're investing in relatively safe crypto assets like Bitcoin or Ethereum, like they're really volatile. They might be down a lot. I couldn't tell you why Bitcoin is down so much this year, but what I will say is I'm not concerned about owning some, because I don't have any plans to sell it and I don't need that Bitcoin. I bought it knowing that to sell it for a long time, and I'm very confident that 10 years from now it'll be worth a lot more than what it is now. So I think having a long-term approach and spreading your risk really helps to offset those concerns, because like a lot more value is going to collapse, but a lot more will also explode. And to capture that explosion, you're not just going to get and pick one project that's right. You're going to have to also expose yourself to some things that will fail.
Right, right, and that's I guess inevitable for most of the people. The more projects you get in, the more chances you have to, I would say win, but you're obviously
Mhm.
going to lose something. You're not only talking about the investments. There are plenty of projects out there where you can participate in this particular project, whether it's gaming or learning, or whatever, working and earning. And people are investing not only their money but also their time, because if the
Mhm.
project does not require your fiat money to be put in order to receive a token or NFT or whatever the project is working on, people are spending their time doing it. So if you're not going to maybe lose money, you get lucky, you are still going to lose time on some of them. And the
Mhm.
I think from my point of view, the best thing to do before, and this is what you just said, and this is what I tell to my community as well. Before you get in any project, or you decide to put your money in it or spend your time earning something on a certain platform, you have to dig deep in the details and understand what the goal of the project is. Look at the tokenomics. If the project has the token, look at the white paper, like you said, and
Right.
understanding. I think the main thing is understanding the long term. of the business, and believing in
Mhm.
it and understanding that it is real. If you don't understand that it's real, you don't understand how it's going to happen and why you will benefit from it in the long term, it's better not to start from the beginning. So spending a little time learning
Right.
is crucial, especially in crypto today.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I would say one other option for people that are open to it is like apply for a job in crypto. Even in a market like this, there's still a lot of people hiring, and like there's so much resistance just because I think people are still reluctant to say like, yeah, I work in crypto or I work in Web3, but there's so much really cool opportunity, and if you believe in it, what better way to learn and get exposure than firsthand?
Yeah, yeah, totally agree. And like you said, that there are a lot of positions that are open. And when we were talking about positions in Web3, it doesn't. You don't have to be a developer that's coding something. Not necessarily. I mean, you can be an admin. You can be a marketing person in a crypto company. You can be. I mean, there's plenty of things that you can do to understand the industry from the inside, and the more you are
Mhm.
surrounded by companies and people that are building something or have successfully already built the product, the more you will, the more clear, I would say, your understanding of the industry will be in long term. Yes, I totally agree with you on that. um, Nurel, if you don't mind, we are live for a little over half an hour now. I wanted to announce some questions that our participants might have.
Yeah,
Most likely, can you hear?
yeah.
There
Did
was
my
something.
did my
Uh,
internet break up for a second?
I think it was mine. I think it was mine. I
Okay,
apologize.
no
Um,
problem.
so one of the participants is asking, Nirel, what do you use to convince investors to have confidence in Mira Finance, and what achievements are so far made?
Okay, I think that's two big questions. The first, I think investors are bound to have concerns, and when I walk them through the company, I try to really focus on. I'll ask them like, "Hey, what are your concerns?" Or like I'll stop on a slide that I see they're rereading, um, because I think like speeding through this, it's really easy to um, like forget about some of the details. Like there are important little problems that if you don't consider will come up, like liquidity or bridging or issuing a token, things like that. And they're all things we've thought out. Another thing we do is like on our deck we have a bunch of appendice slides for these questions we're kind of expecting sometimes, and I think that restores a lot of faith in investors when they ask a question and we can prove we've clearly thought about it. What have we built so far? So we've built kind of like a web of smart contract modules. And what this means is basically like just different programs that connect with each other. We're basing it a little bit off of Z's philosophy about modular programs. Is really useful in smart contract where you can in different programs to one another basically, and that makes it really easy for us building like this infrastructure layer for index funds to be able to plug in staking in the future and let users easily transfer assets from their investment portfolio to a borrowing uh, exchange or to a launch pad, which I think is really important. So we've built out a web of those. We have an integrated our demos up and running. It's like a beta dApp. We're planning to launch our protocol in Q1 of 2023, so as late as March. But we're beginning an audit now just to make sure all the security is up to par, to protect you guys as users. And we won two hackathons. We won XHack hosted by Jump Capital and Wormhole. We just
Awesome.
won Dora Hacks. We're one of the grantees. So if you're interested, you can check them out actually and vote for us. That would be super helpful. We'll get a bigger
Sure.
reward if you vote for
Absolutely.
us. Um, and yeah, I think like that's a lot of the building we've done, but we've really been like heads down working. And another thing is like the protocol we've built out is in this language called Move, which is one of the first smart contract focused programming languages, which has a lot of really unique benefits, which I'm happy to talk about. But we'll be deploying on Aptos first on the Aptos chain, and then we'll deploy on Sui. And our goal is to be chain agnostic, where you'll be able to like deposit
Multi-chain.
USDC or Bitcoin and invest in any token on any chain without having to think about it.
Right, right. That's awesome. And what when you're saying, you were answering the first question on, by saying how you're preparing the deck, and about the appendix and all that. And so I guess this would be a question from me, more than from users. Do you think there are more questions on the security side and what you're building than on the business side or the user side? Like, what questions do you get most?
Yeah, I would say security is really common. Like, how can we be sure that this won't get hacked? And another one that's kind of surprised me is liquidity, which makes sense. But investors seem to be concerned a lot about liquidity. And I think it's because in the past, we've seen a lot of projects base their whole ecosystem around the token. And then they build a
Yeah.
treasury and they run out of money and like the whole thing collapses.
Mhm.
But luckily, like the way we architected everything, we're not the ones that hold the liquidity risk. Basically, like we forward that on, and we rely on other AMMs and swaps that are happening so that we don't have to worry about liquidity because it can be a really complicated issue.
Right, right. Okay. Thank you for answering my question. There are a couple of questions that are repeating. I think that you already answered, but I'll still say it. Maybe some people connected to the stream later, not from the beginning. The question is, how long have you been in the crypto industry? And I do remember that you said roughly 2019. But I don't know if you want to answer that again for people
Yeah,
that did not hear.
I think 2019 is pretty accurate, and I didn't even get into like building smart contracts until after that. So I would say I have, not an extreme amount of experience, but really I've been propelled like by a fascination. When it was white papers, I was reading like one a day for a pretty long time and starting to understand how like this whole world pieces together. And when it became programming and research, I think that was where I I started to see the much bigger picture, which is what are the potential opportunities and challenges for getting blockchain throughput to compete with something like Visa. And I'm very confident we'll get there, but there's a lot of stuff that goes on to 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 have minor increases in throughput, basically. Um, but
Yeah,
yeah, 2019, I would say is pretty accurate.
yeah. There is. I think that's one of the most important things is having a goal and understanding and believing that you are capable of getting there and actually
Mhm.
finishing the product that you started. And I wish you the best of luck. And I think that you are, even though that you are newer in crypto than some of other people, in the industry. I think you're building something unique and something that people actually need, and that's important. Not only proving that the business is going to, or your business model is going to make huge profits, or proving the investors that they're going to make hundreds of X's by investing in you, but also proving to people and users that are actually going to use your product that they need it, and I think they do. So, like I said, I'm with you. I wish you the best of luck, and maybe there could be some kind of collaboration between two of our projects that we can discuss later. Also, I did hear that you said about the hackathon and voting. I think our community can definitely help in with votes. So if you could share maybe right after the live stream, if you could share where they can vote, like share links with us, I can definitely spread it in the chats, and people that
Awesome.
heard the live stream will do it for you. Yeah. Thank you, Nirel. If you wanna, I think we're gonna be wrapping up soon. There's not much more questions in chats that I see. If you have, maybe a couple of words before we finish up, please go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you so much for everything. For all like everybody watching, good luck out there. It's a crazy world. Make safe investments. Be smart. If you found this interesting, you can check us out on Twitter. We have a website up, and a Discord you can join too. And we'll be shooting more updates. And hopefully, when we launch, you guys can be the first ones to test it out.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. We already started spreading your announcement with your social media pages within the community, and we'll do it again after the stream is done. We'll also share the recording of the stream with you. That way, you can share it with your community if you want to. And I think it is not going to be the last stream maybe that we have together, because I do see that people were asking questions, that people are interested in what you're building, and we all wish the best of luck to you and your product that you're working on. Thank you, Nirel, and
Yeah.
we'll talk to you later. Thank you.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Bye bye.
Peace.